On the afternoon of February 15th, 2017, an employee at a gas station in the city of Okmulgee, Oklahoma, was having trouble staying focused. Earlier that day, she had been emptying some trash from around the business when something caught her eye out in the parking lot. Even though there was nothing outwardly alarming about this object, as soon as the employee saw it, she couldn't help but feel like something wasn't quite right, to the point that for the last little while, she'd kind of been arguing with herself about whether she should go and take a closer look, and had actually walked back out there 2 or 3 times now. Finally, the woman's curiosity got the better of her, and she asked one of her coworkers to come and check the situation out with her. It would turn out to be a fateful decision. You see, over the past couple of days, similar things had been left at gas stations in multiple other cities and states. However, until now, no one had noticed or decided to investigate further. Not only were these women about to change that, they were also about to reveal an incredibly dark secret in the process. In early 2017, it seemed like 25-year-old Ashley Mead was starting to find her footing in her new home. A little over a year earlier, she had moved to Boulder, Colorado, where she was now raising her 1-year-old daughter, Winter Daisy. Ashley was originally from the small city of Warren, Pennsylvania. She had been born there in the early 1990s and was raised on a farm surrounded by a large and loving family. From the time that she was young, it was clear to those close to her that Ashley was a true individual. She was artistic, outgoing, and had an insatiable appetite for life. People admired her fearlessness and the way that she treated everything like it was an adventure. As she grew up, Ashley was drawn to anything that allowed her to express her vibrant personality. She loved singing and music, wrote poetry, and became particularly known for her unique sense of fashion. She delighted in wearing things that were as eccentric as she was, whether that was tie-dye leggings or shirts with Godzilla on them. The more outlandish, the better. As one friend put it, quote, "She could never be caught wearing something anybody else would wear." Completing every one of Ashley's looks were her deliberately oversized glasses, as well as her trademark warm smile that showed off the distinctive gap between her front teeth. Far from being self-conscious about this, Ashley embraced it. When she got the iconic Sun album art from one of her favorite bands, Sublime, tattooed on her back, she even had the image modified to have a gap in its teeth as well. After finishing high school, Ashley attended Centenary College in Louisiana before transferring to LSU Shreveport. It was here that she met and fell in love with an Army veteran named Adam Densmore. It was an exciting time. Not only did Ashley think Adam might be the one, but her life felt full of possibilities. That being said, over the next couple of years, Ashley's life took some unexpected turns. First, she got into a bad car accident. The combination of the time off to recover, plus the mounting debt from the collision, meant that she eventually had to drop out of school. At the same time, her relationship with Adam also wasn't working out. As a result, they decided to go their separate ways. However, the most surprising thing was still yet to come. Shortly after the breakup, Ashley discovered that she was pregnant with a little girl. As you might imagine, at first, she was pretty conflicted. She wasn't sure if she was ready for the challenges that lay ahead. But, true to the way that she had always been, Ashley decided to look at motherhood as another new adventure. This was quickly followed by a second bold choice. You see, after she and Adam ended their relationship, he had moved to Colorado to go to school to become a chef. Feeling that it was incredibly important for her child to have her father in her life, Ashley decided to follow Adam. Even though they were no longer involved romantically, they agreed to co-parent and moved into an apartment together in the city of Boulder. Of course, this wasn't easy at first. Uprooting her life all over again meant that Ashley was far away from all of her family as well as the friends that she had made in both Pennsylvania and Louisiana. In Ashley's mind, though, the decision was immediately worth it once her daughter, Winter Daisy, came along. From the moment that she was born, they were inseparable. According to those who knew her, Ashley had the baby literally strapped to her everywhere she went. At the same time that Ashley began her journey as a new mom, She also started working towards a new career. First, she got a job as a preschool teacher's aide. A little while after that, she became an intern teacher for the Boulder County Head Start program. The program is meant to help preschool-aged children prepare for kindergarten and is specifically geared towards providing resources to low-income families. Very quickly, it was clear that Ashley had a true talent for the work. The kids took to her almost instantly, and she affectionately became known to many of them and many of the parents as Silly Miss Ashley. Just as the young mother appeared to be hitting her stride both at work and at home, though, something would happen that would baffle everyone in Ashley's life. It began when, one day, out of nowhere, she abruptly vanished. On the morning of February 14th, 2017, the Boulder Police Department received a call from a woman who said that she was worried about one of her coworkers. The woman explained that her friend and colleague at the Head Start preschool program, Ashley Mead, hadn't shown up for work that morning. Normally, Ashley was very dedicated to the job, but now she wasn't returning any texts or phone calls. What was even more concerning was that this was actually the second day in a row that Ashley had missed. After hearing this, plus the fact that Ashley had a 1-year-old daughter at home, police agreed to go and conduct a welfare check at her residence. She, Adam, and Winter Daisy lived in a little apartment complex in East Boulder, just off of a busy street called Baseline Road. Very quickly after arriving at the property, officers started to notice unusual signs. The front door to Ashley's unit had been left unlocked, and all of the interior lights were on. This was despite the fact that the 25-year-old's white Volvo was missing from the complex's parking lot. Things only got stranger as police ventured farther inside. In the kitchen, a partially cooked dinner sat abandoned in the oven. The oven door was slightly open. However, the appliance itself had been shut off. Though there was no sign of Ashley, Adam, or Winter Daisy, Ashley's cat was still at the apartment. So were a lot of her personal belongings. These included her driver's license, purse, and one of her favorite pairs of oversized glasses. Even Ashley's phone was there. It had been left tucked into a little area between a wall and a banister near the stairs. At this point, police didn't quite know what was happening, but they were convinced that something was going on. There were no signs of violence or a struggle or anything like that, but the situation was still quite unsettling. At the very least, it looked like someone had left here in a hurry. This could have been Ashley, since her car was missing, but if that were the case, it also raised a bunch of questions. Where was Ashley headed? Were Winter Daisy and Adam with her? And if Ashley was going somewhere, why hadn't she taken anything with her? Hoping there was some kind of innocent explanation for all of this, police contacted Ashley's family back in Pennsylvania. Disturbingly, though, they had no clue what was going on either. In fact, they were quite worried when they heard about the details officers had discovered. Ashley's mother, Claudia Bunce, was particularly concerned when she heard that the cat had been left behind. She said that her daughter always took her pet with her if she was planning on being away from the house for any extended period of time. After hearing everything, Claudia asked whether anyone had tried to get in touch with Adam. She figured that he might have at least some idea where Ashley and Winter Daisy were. Police explained that, unfortunately, Adam was also missing. By this time, they had tried to contact him several times as well, but all of those calls were going straight to voicemail. They had even tried pinging Adam's phone, but it was off and was not traceable on the cellular network. With 3 missing people and a mysterious scene left behind at the apartment, Boulder police decided that they needed to quickly pour more resources into the case. They launched an investigation and began working to establish a timeline. In this beginning phase, the case focused mostly on Ashley, since she was the one that had actually been reported missing, and it was going to be easier to retrace her steps because authorities also had her cell phone. Thanks to a combination of location data on the device, social media activity, and witness statements, detectives learned that Ashley had last been seen 2 days before she was reported missing, on February 12th. From everything investigators were able to collect, it looked like a normal Sunday. Ashley had been running errands with Winter Daisy, with the pair of them going in and out of the apartment all day. At 11:15 a.m., Ashley had taken some pictures of herself in a black dress in the fitting rooms of a Target store about 3 miles from her home. A little after 4:30 that afternoon, she and Winter Daisy had been captured on surveillance footage at a Sprouts farmers market just down the road from the apartment complex. About an hour later, a neighbor had seen Ashley taking out some trash to the communal dumpsters. None of it seemed the least bit suspicious or out of the ordinary. The only exception was something that had happened a little later that evening. When detectives spoke to residents of the apartment complex, Ashley's next-door neighbor told them that she had heard something strange around 9 p.m. that night. It was a loud noise, kind of like a large thud, and she said it had definitely come from Ashley's unit. The neighbor said that she was concerned at the time that it had happened. She even thought someone might have fallen down the stairs. But because there wasn't any kind of other commotion or further noises, she decided to just let it go. This was interesting to investigators because it roughly coincided with the time that Ashley had last used her cell phone. From that point on, there was no additional activity on the device or any of her social media accounts. The cell phone became important again when detectives got their first real lead. This lead was especially interesting because it seemed like it might offer some additional context to Ashley's movements on the day that she was last seen. Investigators learned that shortly before her disappearance, Ashley had started a new romantic relationship. She had met a guy online named Harvey, and the pair had started seeing each other. Though all of this was fairly recent, it was clear from Ashley's phone that she and Harvey had been exchanging a lot of messages, and the content of those messages quickly stood out to authorities. It turned out that Harvey was into some pretty kinky stuff. And not to shame or judge anyone, but some of the things he was sending Ashley skewed sort of dark. It made police wonder if this might be at all related to the sudden disappearances. Because detectives had Harvey's number, it was easy enough to contact and locate him. They went to his house, and he voluntarily let them do a search. Not only did police not find anything during this search, Harvey was very cooperative and open when asked questions. He talked about how he and Ashley had met, said that their relationship was still pretty new, and allowed investigators to search through his phone as well. Nothing of additional interest was found on the device. Up to this point, detectives had sort of been speculating that maybe Ashley had been running errands on February 12th because she was planning to meet up with Harvey that night. They thought maybe this is why she had gone out and shopped for that black dress. When Harvey was asked about this, though, he said that they never had any plans to meet up that night. He explained that he had been out with some friends who he picked up from the airport. Harvey had an ironclad alibi backing this up. One of his friends had lost her purse while they were hanging out, and they ended up having to file a police report. That document was dated and timestamped. If there was any shadow of a doubt left about Harvey's involvement, this was removed when detectives dug into his cell data. The location info matched his story exactly and showed he hadn't been anywhere near Ashley's apartment that Sunday. As it happened, detectives weren't done with cell phones just yet. There was one final thing that they found on Ashley Mead's phone, something that would eventually put them on the right track. Before we get there, though, we have to rewind a little bit. You see, before any of this had even started, there was something else going on, roughly 1,000 miles away. Just before 8 p.m. on February 13th, 2017, so the day before Ashley, Adam, and Winter Daisy were discovered to be missing, Ashley's white Volvo pulled up on the driveway of Adam's parents' house just outside of Shreveport, Louisiana. All three of them were in the vehicle, and Adam quickly got out with Winter Daisy to say hello. Now, Adam's family was initially overjoyed by the surprise visit. They were especially excited to see Winter Daisy. Since she was born, they hadn't gotten to spend a lot of time with her because Adam and Ashley were all the way out in Colorado. However, very quickly, they started to feel like something was off, to the point that Adam's parents actually pulled him aside and said, is Ashley okay with the baby being here? Adam assured his parents that everything was fine, but they, along with Adam's brother, could tell that he was really agitated. Still, they decided pushing him would probably just make things worse, which they didn't want to do, especially because they knew that they had such limited time together. Shortly after arriving, Adam explained that this really was just a quick visit. They were going to spend the night, and then the following afternoon, he was going to take Winter Daisy to visit his grandmother, who lived in Conway, Arkansas. He said that this short road trip was kind of the deal he and Ashley had worked out. Adam's family did their best to enjoy the rest of the evening, and the next morning they said their goodbyes. Adam wasn't planning to leave for a few hours, but everyone at the house had to go to work, and by the time they got home, Adam said that they would probably already be back on the road. The string of bizarre events continued, though, when Adam's younger sister Joy popped over to the house. She had heard from her parents that her baby niece was in town, and because she hadn't gotten a chance to be there the night before, she decided she would go over that afternoon and try to get in a quick visit. Joy didn't tell Adam that she was coming, but all the same, she was surprised by the reception she received when she got there. Instead of being excited to see her, Adam acted super weird and looked almost shocked when she came inside. On top of all of this, it looked like Adam was cleaning something up in the guest bathroom. When Joy asked what was going on, Adam said that he had been feeling really nauseous that morning. The feeling had come on so suddenly that he hadn't made it to the toilet in time. Instead, he kind of just threw up everywhere, and now there was this big mess. Joy asked him if he needed any help, but Adam said that he had it under control. He was almost finished anyway and said that they needed to hit the road soon. Shortly after that, that's exactly what happened. At first, Joy didn't think too much of this, but as the hours began to pass, the sheer strangeness of the situation started to get to her. Little did she know, it wouldn't be long before she was relaying all of this to the police. It happened when they contacted her and the rest of the Densmore family, asking if they knew anything about the whereabouts of Adam, Ashley, and Winter Daisy. It was only then that the truth about what was really going on would finally start to unravel. Around midday on February 15th, 2017, so the day after that visit at the Densmore house, Ashley Mead's white Volvo pulled into the parking lot of a Murphy's gas station in the city of Okmulgee, Oklahoma. When it did, Adam got out of the vehicle with a large purple suitcase. He took it over to a dumpster area belonging to the business at the edge of the lot, placing it inside before getting back into the car. He then briefly went into a nearby Walmart store, picking up a few things before heading back out onto the road. A little while later, an employee at the gas station, 23-year-old Alex Cargola, went out to that same dumpster. She had noticed that a garbage can at one of the pumps was overflowing with trash, so she went to collect it and properly dispose of it. As soon as she got over there, she noticed the purple suitcase. The item was hard to miss for a couple of reasons. For starters, the business's dumpster had actually been emptied just earlier that day, so it was basically the only thing in there. But on top of that, it looked like it was in fairly good shape, enough that Alex wondered why it had been thrown out at all. Immediately, it gave her an uneasy feeling. Alex had tried to ignore this, but eventually her curiosity got the better of her. She asked her coworker if she would come out and check it out with her. She agreed, and they went back out there shortly before 2 p.m. When the women opened up the suitcase, what they found was nothing short of horrifying. At almost the exact same time that this was happening, a number of people were desperately trying to get in contact with Adam Densmore. This included multiple members of his family, as well as investigators with the Boulder Police Department. By this time, detectives knew about the road trip because they had spoken to his parents in Louisiana. When they heard that the next stop was Adam's grandmother's house in Arkansas, they asked the Densmore family to relay a message to her to let her know that they needed Adam to call them immediately. Adam did finally call, but not until he had made it all the way to Tulsa, Oklahoma. After a very brief conversation, authorities would ask their counterparts from the Oklahoma Highway Patrol to pull Adam over. When they did, troopers found Adam and Winter Daisy unharmed. Unfortunately, it was just Adam and Winter Daisy, though. The full picture of what had happened would take some time to piece together, but based on all of the evidence that police would later collect, here is what we know. So, at some point on the night of February 12th, 2017, Adam Densmore loaded up Ashley's white Volvo for that multi-state road trip. He took with him his daughter, a few random supplies, and Ashley's body. This is why I said that the three of them were in the car when they arrived at Adam's parents' house in Louisiana. Technically, this was true, though Adam's family had no idea. As far as they were concerned, it was just Adam and Winter Daisy. In fact, on top of his erratic behavior, this is one of the reasons his parents had asked him if it was okay if he brought the baby there. Adam wasn't listed on Winter Daisy's official birth record, so he needed permission from Ashley to take his daughter out of the state. This is also how police were able to get the green light for the Oklahoma Highway Patrol to pull Adam over and to place him under arrest. At this point, detectives still didn't know where Ashley was, but based on their conversations with Adam's family, and particularly his sister, they knew that something wasn't right. It wasn't until they got a call from police in Okmulgee that they realized the full scope of what they were dealing with. Inside that suitcase at the gas station was Ashley Mead's torso. She was identified through a combination of DNA testing as well as her distinctive sublime sun tattoo that I mentioned earlier. Testing on Ashley's Volvo would reveal blood on the floor near the back seat. Disturbingly, this was right below where Winter Daisy's car seat was kept, indicating that on the entire drive from Colorado to Louisiana, this is where Ashley's body had likely been, just inches away from her daughter. Things only got more horrifying when investigators went to search Adam's parents' house, and more about his strange behavior became clear. In a shed in the backyard, they found a barbecue grill cover and a reciprocating saw, both of which had Ashley's blood on them. More blood was found in various spots of that guest bedroom that Joy had seen Adam cleaning up shortly before he left. The reason he had freaked out so badly was because he thought he would have the house to himself for hours. He had purposely waited for his parents and brother to go to work so that he could cut Ashley's body into pieces. After putting her remains in that purple suitcase, as well as other things he had taken from his parents' shed, Adam had started driving again. He told everyone he was just going to visit his grandmother, but the real purpose of his twisted road trip was so that he could dispose of Ashley's body bit by bit. Based on the evidence, it seems that he mostly did this at gas stations. In addition to surveillance footage of the Volvo in the parking lot of the Okmulgee gas station, police recovered footage of Adam at a Valero station in the city of Morrilton, Arkansas. In that instance, he was actually caught on camera putting something into the dumpster. Authorities likewise recovered footage of Adam in a couple of different convenience stores and that Walmart that I mentioned. Ashley wasn't in a single one of the videos. It was only ever Adam and Winter Daisy, or Adam by himself. Now, you might be wondering to yourself, how is Adam planning to get away with all of this? Well, that's where that last thing on Ashley's cell phone came in. You see, when police initially looked at the device, they saw that she had a number of missed calls and texts from Adam. He had been trying to cover his tracks by calling and messaging her, both to make it look like she knew about his trip with Winter Daisy and that he was concerned about not being able to reach her. He had even gone as far as to attempt to throw suspicion on Harvey. In some of his texts, he was saying, you're probably with your new boyfriend, I hope you're having a good time with him, things like that. This ultimately backfired, though, as it ended up putting detectives onto Adam's trail in the first place. As far as Adam's version of events, he claimed that he and Ashley had been in a fight on February 12th, but that he had nothing to do with what had happened afterwards. In the phone call before he was stopped by police, he claimed that he left the apartment and took Winter Daisy because he was worried. He also stated that he didn't phone police back initially when he knew that they were looking for him because he was too distressed by the news that Ashley was missing. I'm going to play you some of that phone call, but just keep in mind it was recorded before authorities knew about the suitcase with Ashley's remains.
Winter's with you?
She's in a seat, man.
She was crying when I called, and as soon as he picked up, she stopped.
I just want to make sure she's okay. When was the last time you talked to Ashley?
Sunday night. We got into a massive fight, probably the worst fight we have ever been in. And I left because it was going to escalate into physicality, and I needed to get out of there. I took Winter, and I just started driving. I called her, left a few messages. I've been texting and Facebook messaging her, and I thought she wasn't messaging me back because she was angry. And then I get this information last night, and it's like, oh God, freaking out.
Adam modified his claims slightly during a conversation with a social worker following his arrest. This was after police had noticed a number of injuries on his body consistent with an altercation.
Tell me about the fight.
I slapped her.
Okay.
I'm very sure. That was the absolute second I did like.
Even after all of the blood evidence was found in the Volvo and at Adam's parents' house, he denied any wrongdoing. Of course, his story made no sense, so he was charged with Ashley's murder. When the case went to trial the following year, Adam's defense built their case around the biggest unanswered question in the investigation. This was that detectives had never been able to prove exactly how Ashley died. A large part of this was due to the fact that the remains in the purple suitcase were the only part of Ashley's body ever found. This wasn't for a lack of trying. At one landfill that authorities were able to connect to that Valero gas station dumpster in Arkansas, a team of more than 40 people searched for an entire month. Unfortunately, that search, which cost nearly $300,000, came up empty. Even though authorities could not prove Ashley's cause of death, there were abrasions, bruises, and cuts on the part of her body that was recovered. These injuries had been inflicted before death, and prosecutors argued that they showed that she had been in some sort of a struggle with Adam prior to her murder. They also argued that this is likely what Ashley's neighbor overheard on the night of February 12th. As for a motive, prosecutors theorized that Adam was jealous that Ashley was moving on with her life and was pursuing new romantic partners. Those who testified in his defense said that they believed it had more to do with the fact that he feared Ashley would take their daughter and leave. It appears that there was at least some truth to this, at least according to passages of Adam's journal that were presented in court. However, these same passages revealed that Adam had been having dark thoughts about hurting Ashley for some time. In April of 2018, Adam Densmore was convicted of multiple crimes, including first-degree murder, tampering with a human body, tampering with physical evidence, and abuse of a corpse. He was sentenced to life in prison plus 12 years, and at the time of this recording, remains incarcerated at Colorado's Crowley County Correctional Facility. Though there was more than enough evidence to provide a conviction in this case, the one thing authorities were unable to provide Ashley Mead's loved ones with was answers. To this day, Adam refuses to admit responsibility for what he did, and he has repeatedly ignored the pleas of her family members to give them information about where he left the rest of her remains. He likewise has refused to disclose what actually happened on the night of the murder. Of course, we can speculate, but the sad truth is we may never know what took place in that apartment, nor why Adam Densmore did what he did. Unfortunately, the news isn't much better when it comes to Ashley's daughter. According to the latest available information we could find, after Adam's arrest, Winter Daisy was placed in foster care. This was despite both sets of her grandparents offering to take her in. Admittedly, most of the reports talking about this are from 2017, when all of this happened, so the situation definitely could have changed since then. However, we came across a petition about this subject that is still live and was getting comments as of just a few months ago. One thing that is clear is just how badly missed Ashley is by the people around her. In an interview we came across, her mother made a truly heartbreaking observation. She said that Ashley's unique and adventurous spirit burned so brightly, it was almost like she knew that she didn't have long on this earth. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.